So, to get rid of baldness, I have to eat a lit candle, and using the magic words you did, be able to cure baldness. What's one more enchantment? There we go.
5 minutes later.
It worked! Yes! I love listening to sketchy internet websites. Yes. Okay. Now, welcome to Ampersand's Ecologies. Today, we are going to be talking about the Hsiao. Now, Hsiaos have some ability score limitations, which I'm going to list out now. So, for their strength score, they have a minimum of 3, but a maximum of 16. So, they are limited on how strong they can become. They have a minimum of 3 dexterity, maximum of 18 dexterity. Constitution, minimum of 3, maximum of 18. Intelligence, a minimum of 6, and a maximum of 18. Wisdom, a minimum of 8, and a maximum of 18. And Charisma, a minimum of 3, a maximum of 18. So, typically, Hsiao are not going to be the strongest, they're not going to be considered the strongest races of all time. They're not going to have any ability score generated, when they're being generated. Their ability scores are going to be pushed down a little bit so that they are at 16. But in turn, their intelligence and wisdom, since those are relatively a little bit higher up, that's going to boost statistically as being a lot more wiser and a lot more intelligent than your typical species, since they cannot be created underneath those scores. Now, they have a walking speed of 30 feet per round when they are carrying anything less than 100 pounds. However, if they are carrying 200 pounds or over, if they are carrying 100 pounds or more, 100 to 200 pounds, their speed gets decreased to 20 feet. 200 to 350, their speed decreases to 10 feet. 350 to 500, their speed decreases to 5 feet, and anything above that, their speed becomes 0. So this means that Hsiaos are not going to be able to carry nearly as much as your typical species due to the fact that it will slow them down more, and they're going to have a lot more struggles. Now, in turn, they have a really high fly speed, that being of 70 feet per round. That is when they're carrying anything less than 20 pounds. So if you have more than 20, so Hsiaos are usually going to keep light. They're not going to be carrying heavy things. They're definitely not going to be wearing armor. They are going to keep packages light. They're probably going to keep it to around a book weight, to probably I want to say a lead helmet at most, due to the fact that they are so heavy. For instance, their flying speed will also be decreased depending on how much they are carrying. If they are wearing 20 pounds or less, they will not be that. Their speed will remain at 70. But if they're wearing between 20 to 50 pounds, they will be reduced to 60 feet of flying. 50 to 75, they will be reduced to 50 feet per round. 75 to 100, that gets reduced to 40 feet per round. 100 to 150, that gets reduced to 30 feet per round. 150 to 200, that's 20 feet per round. And 200 and 250, that becomes 10 feet per round. And 250 to 300, that becomes 5 feet per round, and anything above that zeroes out their fly speed, meaning that they can no longer fly. Now, as a note, as a flyer that becomes encumbered, that is, whenever speed is less than their maximum, they must rest their wings for 1 turn, which in Bekmi is about 10 minutes after every 3 turns of flying. So they can fly for half an hour, but then have to rest for 10 minutes afterwards, which relatively is not that bad. They could travel a decent amount, but they are definitely not going to want to carry heavy things. It's going to be a group effort. They have a natural armor class at the level -3. Since they're doing Bekmi, they have some monster race levels. So a -3 Hsiao is basically a Hsiao that is not mature. They are very young and they are not fully grown. Their armor class is 8, which compared to a human, that's already better, since a human without any armor is 10. And it gets lowered by 1 point for each level until it reaches adulthood, which is level 0, at which point its AC permanently becomes 5. So, in modern terms, that would be an armor class of 16, with the young Hsiao being an armor class. Let's see, that would be an armor class of 13. So, relatively, Hsiaos are going to be relatively hard to hit. Not due to their skin, but due to their evasion factor, from what I can tell. They have natural weapons. Hsiaos can't use artificial weapons. That is quite the detriment to them. They're not going to be using bows and arrows. They're not going to be using swords or any close combat. But they can attack 3 times per round with 2 claw attacks that do 1d2 damage at level -3, 1d3 at level -2, 1d4 at level -1, and 1d6 at level 0 and higher. So Hsiao's claws are fully grown Hsiao's claws are going to be doing 1d6 damage. They have 2 of them. And since they can attack 3 times per round, they have 2 claws, so that takes 2 attacks. And then they have 1 bite attack that they can also do, which does 1d2 at levels -3 and -2, and 1d3 at level -1, and level 1d4 at level 0 and higher. So they have a relatively really sharp beak. They are a magical creature, since Hsiao's natural attacks count as a Hsiao is considered magical, so their attacks count as magical and can damage creatures only affected by magical weapons. So this bypasses a lot of resistances. In 5th edition, when a monster is usually resistant to most things, being able to do magical damage, a Hsiao is going to be able to ignore it. Sure, it's relatively a lot weaker, but they have other skills that they have. They have priestly magic. Hsiaos progress through spell abilities as if they were a cleric of 4 levels or higher, reaching at the maximum of 15th level of spellcasting ability. In Bekmi, that means that they can basically level up as a cleric class about as well as a human, but once they reach level 15, they are considered spellcaster level 19. But they cannot reach the maximum for a cleric, which would be 20. They can also use any non-weapon and non-armor magic item that's permitted to clerics. And finally, they make saving throws as if they were clerics of the same level. So Hsiaos have this race as class ability, like we've gone over before. I haven't really explained this, but showing this table right here, you can see that as Hsiaos are younger, they don't really have nearly as many abilities, and once they become adults, they start getting spell levels. Yes, correct me. Hsiaos are natural spellcasters, and they seem to wander towards the cleric class. Now, Hsiaos really haven't appeared anywhere after Bekmi, but due to the fact I have to include everything, Hsiao's, once the world reaches the third edition, they're basically going to be leaning towards the cleric class, and they're going to be able to, as the rules state, progress through spell abilities that they were a cleric of 4 levels higher. So once they reach the later editions, they're going to become a lot stronger. But they are also limited to being only able to level up to the 15th level, which is an odd choice, but I'm not going to question it. So using that, we can tell that Hsiaos are naturally going to be fairly wise. They're going to be very helpful. Heck, in their lore, it states that they are typically not very confrontational, usually being a guide, a mentor creature for other sapient species. And let's see, Hsiaos are also going to be able to. Let's see. That's what it was. They get a XP bonus if they have a high enough wisdom score. For instance, if their wisdom is 13 or higher, they gain a 5% XP bonus. While if it is 16 or higher, they gain a 10% XP bonus. So the wiser Hsiao is, the quicker they're going to be able to level up. And with that, I. Oh, shoot. Yeah, okay. I'm going to need to phone a friend real quick. I realize I have not been putting down the right stuff. So I'm going to go phone a friend, and hopefully the space-time continuum will be fine. If anything, please comment down below. And just a moment. Marty McFly. Okay, fine. Forgot something. Yeah, it worked. Okay. Yeah. Now, this is our 10th species. And we are going to place the Hsiao in what used to be Athens. Well, it still is Athens, but almost there. Now, I'm placing them there due to the fact that Hsiao's being of higher average wisdom and going off of Greek Greek lore, owls being very wise, I'm going to place them there. Now, the secondary dot was a little bit hard to distinguish. I was either going to choose Mount Olympus, due to the fact that's where the seated gods are, and the Hsiaos would have a lot of land area, or Troy, due to the fact that Odysseus won the Trojan War using a bit of guile and trickery. So I decided to go with both of them. One where Mount Olympus is, right around here. And one where ancient Troy was, up here. And using this string, I will make a triangle. There we are. And the Hsiaos will be populating this area here, allowing them to spread out this way and this way. Okay. So, any questions below? Comments? Yada yada. I am going to explode now. Excuse me.